Hey, good evening and welcome to Good Neighbor Talks. Hi, dear neighbor. Uh, Second installment. If this your first installment, you can always go back and see last week's episode. How's everybody been doing this week? I've been good. We're going to have a discussion tonight. First of all, if you're watching me on YouTube and you don't have the IME app, let's download that and get it. Because it has a lot of great information. And this week, this month, we started our new blog. And this week's was was really, really good by this week's was our vice president, Angel Brown. Uh, it was, uh, about socializing, and it was very informative. And as always, it comes up on Monday. And also on Mondays, we have our little motivational little mantra for the week to get you started off well. And look for that blog this week because I'll actually be writing a blog for this upcoming Monday, and it should be interesting. It would be more or less on a politics slant towards the within the LGBT community. Tonight, like every night, we always, because this is an ally show, we are going to lean towards what allies are doing or what we should be doing. And I've had a couple different things that have come up this week that I wanted to address. And if somebody's watching this that is a potential ally, or somebody that's in the community, you probably these this is very important. For one, this is an educational show. We're an educational nonprofit, so basically, my drive and my job, my destiny is to actually educate the not so well informed people, um, so you can get a better understanding of the community and what it is to be an ally and to actually stand up and stand beside the community when you may think it's not that important. It was not a big deal that you may not actually see. And I've actually learned a lot of this in the last 5 years. What I would take for granted um, is actually crucial for the LGBT community. So, one of the things that I want to talk about is being a black man and being an ally. I get so frustrated when people that are fr- first of all, I'm a 51 years old, so my demographic is I'm the same age as hip hop. I'm from the inner city. So that's my demographic, and that's I grew up with a lot of stereotypical people that are from that demographic. And one of the things that kind of like really one embarrasses me and two disgusts me, and I don't like to be I've never liked it even before I was part of this organization is the terms that and I think it's from my people, like terms like no homo or pause. It's just things like that to where as though and if for people that are unfamiliar with these terms, they're usually used by ultra masculine men or who deem themselves ultra masculine, and they may say something innuendo or something that may be deemed they deemed as being quote unquote gay, or it was like saying something to, for example, yo, Derek, we was playing ball, and then he start pounding me down low, and they'll say pause or no, but, but you're talking about basketball, but any of these little innuendos that they would, and they just laugh about it or something like that. It's just like, what is the fixation with when you say something that can be used as an innuendo for homosexuality, you have to actually stop what you're saying and doing and clarify that, yo, hey, but I'm not gay. That's not what I meant. It's it, and I'm laughing only because it just disgusts me so much that it's really like sophomorish and just childish when like grown men and they're literally grown men are saying this. I remember the first time I actually hearing it when and it was in like the 2010s when a basketball player was on an interview and he said something and then he said no homo. It was Roy Hibbert. It was for the Indiana Pacers. Yeah, I'm gonna call him out by name. That's the first time that I heard that, and I don't know what it was referring to now, but it's just these are things that we as black men need to get over, and I I don't know why it's such hatred and in my community for gay people. Most some people may say it's because of religion, because I mean, like for instance, I get a little pushback, and like maybe a lot of allies may get a little pushback from their family members that don't get it, and they often ask you to explain like why you are part of this organization or why you are out. And I don't really think I need to actually quantify my beliefs to people, but I try to do so in order of education. And I think I have a similar dynamic to a lot of people that's my age, and a lot of people that are, Black, African American, or whatever you want to call it. Um, um, I have sectors of my family that are Christian, and then I have another sector of my family that are Muslim. Now you and in many ways, both of their religions not a little bit different, but they both have a problem with homosexuality. And They don't get me wrong, my family have not outwardly or like condemned me because I am an ally, but they don't like having a conversation when I talk about the work that I do, or they seem uncomfortable with having a conversation. Some of them, or they just say, "Well, that's nice." Um, in some aspects, whereas though when person that I'm in a relationship with, her people asked when we first started dating, found out that I was part of the organization, asking if I was bisexual or something like that. These are all things that we as people have to get over and get past. It's very possible, and you're able to be heterosexual, quote unquote, straight, and you still can have the capacity to care for somebody that is not heterosexual, or you can still care about the group as a whole. And I think, no, I know that society, peer pressure, and ignorance stems and drives this belief system with many of people that are in my community and in my age group. And that because I'm gonna be honest, my children in their age group, they're in their mid and lower 20s. They don't think about homosexuality, the people LGBT and trans and people of different races and white, but they don't think about it in the hatred way that we've been taught, or the shun way of we've been taught. It's so, and I actually love that about them because they have taught me so many different things about how to just be what. That's just dumb to even care about. What does that matter? Y- Who cares? And that just tells me that this is a taught thing. This is a thing. Whereas though you are being trained without actually knowing to dislike something when you don't actually have the capacity to know truly in making your own decisions. I was watching a video the other day about it was this civil rights. It was actually a white professor talking about white privilege and how we are conditioned to our viewpoint without actually knowing how. It's just these key things that just click in. And he was talking about how he was driving in his car with his two, not with his two daughters who were 15 and 13 now. They were 10 and 12, and they were driving to dance class. Stay with me. This story is I'm gonna bring it all home. I just like telling stories because it can give you a picture in your mind. So when they stopped at a light, they were in around a housing uh, development, public housing development. And this is, granted, this is in Tennessee, and what we will call, and what has always been called in the community as we grown up, the projects. But what we don't actually realize, is people often deem how public housing and the projects being something that was designed and made for black and brown people. And I'm here to tell you that nothing in this country has been designed or built for black and brown people other than prisons. Public housings was actually something that was made for poor white folk. And what actually happened is things changed over time. It was actually so whereas though poor white folk can get ahead and get and so they can get pulled up out of their situation. But this young lady, her child asked him, why does it seem like it's all majority black people that live around here? And before he could actually respond to it, the older sister said, red line. And well, hopefully a lot of people know what redlining was, but it was just so interesting and educated that this 12-year-old knew what redlining was. And I don't want to go on a tangent, but I'm saying this story because this child read somewhere or but through osmosis from her father got educated on what redlining was. And if for people that don't know what redlining is whereas though people back before the Fair Housing Act in 1968, um, mortgage company realtors they would actually draw a red line on a map, and if you fell into this side of on that red line, you cannot get any type of more a loan or anything. It didn't matter. But once with privilege, you could move off of that line and make some more money, and you move past that line. So then, if what if wound up being is majority black and brown people will stay on that side of the line because what you would call white flight. I'm saying that because I got it in conversation earlier this week, a small conversation with my sister, who- who's an ally, which she doesn't even know she's an ally sometimes because she has the problem of thinking, why are we still talking about these things in 2025? And I just love that about her because she just believes like, wait a minute, people are people. You add out of respect, you ask somebody how they want to. If you're not sure, you ask how you want to be addressed. She came to me about this a couple years ago when she had a coworker who she did not know how to address them. Um, maybe there was a person in the community. She wasn't sure if they were going through transitioning or it was just what we would call like a stud lesbian. And the most easy and the most appropriate thing I said is introduce yourself and say you're Dave, and and did this person to give you their name, or and also you give them your pronouns, and they will reciprocate if that's what they do, or you ask them what would they like to be called, and you just respect them. And that went a long way with her, but she still did it. I mean, to this day now, when we talk about, she don't get how people just don't just accept that in this big world there are people that's different than us. And what does it matter how they love or how they present themselves if they're not hurting you? And I so she brought the conversation up to me the other day that she had well, she overheard with her coworker because one of the her coworkers was enthralled and upset that the principal from the school did not get back to them because they were having LGBT history for um, his fifth grade class, his child's fifth grade class, and he was just like, "I don't want him to go," and uh, I don't. And then he was asking other people if their kids had to do this and this, that, and other. But everybody in the office, like kids, were grown like adults, or also one of the other kid, one of the other employees, his kid was like a senior in high school, and it didn't come into play in the curriculum when he until afterwards. Because relatively, and I did my research about this because I found it interesting. Around 2019 is when a lot of states start implementing LGBT curriculum in their state curriculum, and also, so right now, 8 states, majority of them are in the West Coast. California, Washington, Oregon, uh, New Mexico, Colorado, and I'm so happy to say the one state on the East Coast is my home state where I was born and raised in New Jersey. Whereas though the District of Columbia, they actually Delaware, you need work to do. We need to do some work to do. Uh, those are the states in the District of Columbia that have LGBT educational programs. Something deals with LGBT history, and then actually LGBT like sex education. Um, 23 states don't have anything on the books. They're non-committal, but there are 19 states in the country that basically have you have to, as most advocacy groups say, to say can't say gay brigade, because in those states you can't bring up anybody in history about their if they have been if they were their orientation or their or gender, anything. If it was just not straight, you can't say gay or homosexual or anything. Does anybody get the concept that when you take away somebody's history, that people that are very, very crucial to things that has happened, then you actually scarring and actually just deleting importance in a sense, whereas though the same thing what has happened with what they do with black people's accomplishments. I just don't get, and I just hope that when people watch this and we talk about being allies and being a part of propping up equality for the LGBT community. Education is the key part, especially when we're talking about education of young people. When you are born and when you come up, you don't know how to hate or dislike or be disrespectful unless that is taught to you. People, especially children, often emulate things that they see and what they hear. A child wouldn't know anything about using foul language and cursing if people didn't curse around, or if they didn't have images on their television or iPad or whatever stuff that they're watching that use that type of language. When you're born, you're not a racist. When you're born, you're not a homophobe. These things are taught. The same thing, whereas though when you're born and you come to the realization that you are part of the community and you hide it or you want to be proud, either way, wouldn't it be more prevalent and successful if you were taught that about James Baldwin, about Mary Jones, about many artists and entertainers that are part of the community, and you can see greatness in that. The crazy thing is, we we praise artists, we praise these people that can sing, dance, entertain, that can write, that can paint and sculpt, do all these great things, but we don't respect who they really are enough because they part of the community, or they try to hide that part. They don't want to mention it. And it's like the two are not different. They're not apart. You are you might just be a small part of, like, just like I'm a man, I'm a black man, I'm a chef, I'm a father, I'm a son, I'm a brother, I'm a friend. I'm as many different things that wrap with me, the one person. But I identify as all those things. But you know the one thing that I don't identify as and I don't bring up as, I don't bring it up being a cisgender straight. I don't identify outwardly just being a heterosexual because I don't have to. I have that privilege. It's probably one of the few privileges that I actually do have in America. But what about the person that can't be who they really are and are and gets flack and hatred for who they really are? And only because maybe th- it's just ignorance. I will want. any person that is considers themselves ally, and if you are in a state or in a district that offers LGBT history to your child, that you don't be weak enough to opt them out. I I really have a problem with the even. It's crazy that you had to give these people the option to be. I didn't have the option of not hearing about Napoleon. I ain't have an option about not hearing about daggone Betsy Ross or George Washington cutting down the cherry tree or apple tree. I don't know. It was all a lie anyway. But I, I know for a fact having this curriculum, it's not going to be it's not going to be what the ignorant people think it is, and actually teaching people how to be gay or persuading people to you, you don't persuade people to be who they are. I'm from I'm from that belief system that people are born a certain way, and they may hide it and try to just get along for the getting along, but you are who you are. You know, there's no actually praying the gay away. You false kicking it if that's the case. Just to because my whole philosophy is who in the world wants to be ostracized? When people say you you chose a lifestyle, no, you are being your true self. You were playing a role before and hiding who you were, or maybe you hadn't come to the conclusion. It was the evolution. You was trying to figure out why things weren't in place. I can't say because most of the time as human beings we are evolving, and we're trying to we learning every day and trying to figure out who we are, and or trying to be a better person. And that's not even on the whole level about your sexuality and or, orientation. So I can imagine that's is takes a toll. But I just over these years of being an event and then listening to people that are on the other side when they basically telling you, oh, they chose to be this way, or I had, I had an ex, and this is part of the reason why I my ex, that she blamed her daughter coming out and saying that she was gay because she was around other girls that were gay, and they persuaded her to think that she was that way or something to that extent. And she basically just cried and just broke down over her daughter having the courage, you hear it, having the courage of coming to her and actually talking to her and coming out to her mother instead of hiding it, or instead of you know take taking her own life or hurting herself because of this. She felt shame. And one of the reasons that I ended my relationship with her is because she couldn't get over the fact that her daughter was gay. She thought, especially she was 18, 19. It was a phase she was going through. She don't know what she's talking about. I didn't raise her to be this way. Oh, we just got to go to church and this, that, other. And it's just, it didn't sit well with me. And see, that's another component of being an ally that a lot of people don't actually see. How can you be, if you're an ally, how can you be in a relationship with somebody that is not an ally to the community? See, those are things that you have to deal with sometimes. And I know you say, when you can agree to disagree, you can have different like political stances, and you still, but certain things like that is just it was it was a deal breaker for me. Um, and this is prior to me even being a part of this organization. I just didn't respect her in the sense of how she was uh, looked at her daughter in a different way because of her orientation. Now she would say she still loved her, and she did, and she it came along and accepted her dating another female for what, but she still kept on pushing like it was a phase. And just it's I couldn't do that. I couldn't be with a person like that. And a lot of that is just education and just understanding. Now, how about if that person, when she was an adolescent, when she was learning about George Washington Carver, and she was learning all these things in America, they had a portion of LGBTQ history. And so you can have understanding about who these people are that you may come across, and have the understanding how to be respectful and understanding to someone that is different than you. Because again, when you're 7, 8, 9, 12, 13, for these things, these hateful things, you don't have that in your mindset unless it's been programmed. So if you would actually learn that people are people, this person, it's okay that this man loves this other man. That doesn't mean if you are a male or you identify as male, that don't mean you are. If this woman has a relationship with another woman, that don't mean you are, or that's the option for you if that's how you are. There is no, and if you think that, that's the ignorance, because you choose to think like you want to catch it like a cold, like it's a virus. I think a lot of times, and it's sad to say, and I'm going to say it for one, I've never I've never been in this situation, but I I think a lot of times when it comes to like black men and being so anti and just heavy masculine, I, I think lots of it has to do with the hip hop community and the music, rap music, and prison. Yeah, I'm gonna say prison. Yeah, and I've never been in it, but the biggest thing what people when it comes to that situation is you know about being accosted and raped and things like that in prison. And I think a lot of it has to do with they just don't want to be grouped in with that person. Because it's so funny that straight heterosexual black men, they cool. They are a lot of them cool with being with you know, hanging around masculine lesbians or they're studs. They could, but if somebody a male comes around, they always they get different. And I'm speaking from experience with somebody that I know that's a man. And I had a conversation with them and they talked about how they think somebody want them. Don't nobody want people. You know, it's just the fear and the ignorance. And we only can eradicate these things one by one with having these difficult conversations. Not even difficult. They're not difficult conversations. They're difficult when because they can be frustrating because the hypocrisy and the ignorance makes it so where as though you get so upset. Case back to what my sister with her coworker, she had a 30-minute conversation with this man several weeks ago about this subject, and he could not articulate why it was so bad for his child to know that gay people existed. All he said is, ah, ah, he too young, 10, 11 years old. I'm pretty sure the way this society is in 2025, I'm pretty sure he got an iPad or the internet or whatever, this, that, and other. So he knows something. We can't put our head in the ground and just think things are going to go away, things are going to get better. It's almost like, there are no gay people, there are no poor people, there is no racism, there is no, there's nobody that's homeless or unhoused. You walk around on the streets and you see some people that's sleeping on a park bench or in a bus depot or laying or sleeping on the ground. They don't You don't see them. You look through them. So because This doesn't exist. It's still there, even if you don't talk about it and you don't have the understanding. But unlike being two paychecks, the majority of us being two paychecks from being unhoused, we're not two, you know, history classes from actually becoming gay. That's not, you know, two lectures of just talking about the gay experience or talking about being part of the community or even just giving shouts out to those who came before us that have made great strides in history towards for the community, but also for society as themselves. It's not like, you know what? I thought I was straight before, but now that I see that, you know, James Baldwin was awesome, I want to be gay. Doesn't work that way, idiot. So the moral and to top this all off is when it comes to education and being enlightened and having these conversations, if you if you have the object the opportunity, speak the truth. If it comes to where as though your child has the opportunity to learn and they give you the option of opting out, don't don't opt don't have your child opt out of life and and opt out of understanding and learn because it's very crucial in the fight to eradicate homophobia and in the fight to make it in a sense where as though we can all be humane to listen and learn and figure out how we can just be a good neighbor. And with that, I thank you and we'll see you